The funeral incense had barely faded when Itsuki returned to the Yukimiya Inn. In the quiet lobby, the staff gathered, their faces heavy with grief and uncertainty. Then the entrance slammed open. Tatsuya stormed in, wrinkled suit reeking of tobacco.
Sell the inn, now! The developer's offer is on the table, and you're wasting time.
He slammed a yellow envelope stamped "Dept" onto the counter, the sound echoing off the wooden walls.
Itsuki-san, you can't. This inn is your father's soul, our haven for 50 years.
Tatsuya, give me 2 weeks to review the books, then I'll give you my answer.
2 weeks? Fine. But if you stall, I'll bring the debt collectors here myself.
Young master, after all the master did, he'd never forgive us if we lost this place.
Just as I expected. Now let's see how far this goes before I pull the trigger.
The master once told me, this inn is my life's apology to our ancestors. Protect it.
He refused a buyout during the recession. He said some things just aren't for sale.
Apologies won't stop loan sharks. Selling is the only way out.
2 weeks. I'll review every ledger, every contract. Then I'll give you your answer.
2 weeks. Not a day more. And if you stall, the collectors won't be patient.
He stormed out, the door rattling in its frame.
Sentimental fools. They'll learn when the bills pile up.
Inside, the staff huddled, their whispers alive with fear and fading hope. Through the window, Itsuki watched the beat-up sedan vanish into the dusk, rain beginning to streak the glass.
He's more unraveled than I anticipated. This will be simpler than father ever warned.
The next morning, Itsuki entered his father's study and closed the shoji door behind him. He lifted a stack of heavy ledgers from the shelf and spread them across the desk.
The developer's numbers are absurdly low. Half the appraised value, at least.
Then, tucked between 2 folders, he found a manila envelope marked Private Agreement.
A side deal, signed by Tatsuya. He'd pocket a 10% kickback from the sale. Tanaka-san, it's Itsuki. I need you at the inn now. Bring the old audit files.
Within the hour, Mr. Tanaka arrived, his briefcase heavy with decades of inn records.
You found this in the study? If it's real, it's criminal.
It's real. And it means my brother isn't just desperate. He's already sold his honor.
Itsuki's hand rested on the paper, his jaw set. The 2-week clock was now a countdown to consequence. Tanaka pulled a second folder from his briefcase, the corners worn and stained. Within lay loan agreements from underground lenders, pawn tickets, and promissory notes with exorbitant rates.
Gambling, not business failures. He owes 80 million across 3 different rings.
And that so-called developer offer? The kickback is pocket change compared to this hole.
His phone vibrated, Tatsuya's name flashing. He silenced it, then watched it light up again. 17 missed calls. In the corridor, Yoshi hurried toward him, her face pale with urgency.
Young master, your father once told me. He was terrified of this exact moment.
What exactly did he tell you, Yoshi-san?
That Tatsuya would try to sell this inn the moment he thought he could get away with it.
So father built a fortress I never knew about. He's still protecting this place. Through me.
Itsuki-san, your father left a sealed will with a notary. He insisted you see it alone.
The envelope was heavy, its crimson wax seal untouched, the name Kaito pressed into the ribbon.
The inn, the land, everything. To me alone. Tatsuya is explicitly disinherited.
There is also an investment fund attached. It can settle his debts, but only carefully defined ones.
Folded inside the will was a handwritten letter, the ink faded but the strokes firm. My son, your brother has always chased shadows. I watched him accumulate ruin. The inn must survive. Trust only your own judgment.
He planned this for years. From the moment Tatsuya abandoned us, father knew this day would come.
Itsuki's gaze rose to the portrait on the wall. The calm eyes seemed to ask, "Do you understand now?" He folded the documents back into his yukata. The weight of legacy pressed against his chest.
I'm not a victim. I am father's final answer. And Tatsuya has no idea what he truly asked for.
When Itsuki returned to his room, the shoji stood ajar. Inside, Tatsuya was rummaging through his personal desk.
What are you keeping from me? You've been dodging my calls and meeting with the accountant.
I told you, I'm reviewing the books. There's nothing to hide.
Tatsuya's face reddened. He stepped closer, finger jabbing the air.
If this isn't settled soon, I'll send the collectors here. They'll strip this place piece by piece.
I said I'll handle it. Now get out of my room.
Tatsuya slammed the door so hard the paper panels shivered. Footsteps retreated. Itsuki exhaled slowly, then pulled out his phone and dialed the police fraud unit.
I'd like to report a case of fraud involving a property sale and a side agreement.
Outside, Tatsuya lit a cigarette on the porch, unaware that the net was already tightening. The next morning, Mr. Tanaka returned with a folder marked Fund Provisions in his gloved hand.
The fund is clear. It pays only honest debts, business loans, medical bills. Gambling losses are explicitly excluded.
The statement showed a modest balance, enough to cover barely a tenth of the total debt.
Then the rest stays with him. I'll settle this small portion and let the authorities handle the fraud.
With a red pen, Itsuki crossed out the loan shark entries one by one, leaving only a small legitimate claim.
Now the other half. A job offer. Dishwashing in the kitchen. It's the only door he gets.
He wrote the terms slowly, the pen strokes crisp on the inn's letterhead.
0 salary. Full lodging. Probation for 1 year. If he walks, there's nothing left.
He placed the contract beside the will and fund papers, a 3-part trap that left no exits.
This is the path you left for us, Father. I'll make sure he walks it, or chooses the alternative. I'd like to schedule a meeting with Suzuki-san to discuss the terms of the offer.
The next afternoon, Itsuki entered a small rented office. Suzuki waited with a practiced smile.
Mr. Itsuki, so glad you're reconsidering. I assure you, our offer is most fair.
Itsuki said nothing yet. He calmly withdrew a folded copy of the side agreement and placed it on the desk.
A 10% kickback to my brother. That's not in the official proposal. Very creative.
That's a misunderstanding. A standard finder's fee, nothing more.
I'm sure. I'll consider the real market value. Good day, Suzuki-san.
Rain greeted him outside. His phone buzzed, Tatsuya's name, then a voicemail notification.
Stay away from the developer. I told you, the deal is mine to negotiate.
He's desperate. Perfect.
That evening, Tatsuya stormed into the inn lobby, his face blotchy with rage and drink.
You, meeting the developer without me? I told you the deal is mine to handle.
The developer's price is a joke. I am simply seeking better terms. Stay calm.
There are no better terms. This is the only way to save us from the sharks.
What if we only sold the undeveloped parcel? The inn itself could remain.
The unused land? Alone? You'd consider that?
Behind the sliding door, staff members huddled, their whispers thick with fear and confusion.
Selling even an inch of this land, the master would never forgive it.
Tatsuya stepped outside onto the porch, lighting a cigarette as dusk gathered.
If he's serious about a partial sale, maybe this can still work.
Dawn found Itsuki at the desk, completing a cultural heritage designation form, a legal shield against any sale.
Once the plaque is on that wall, even the developer won't touch it. The trap closes.
By noon, workers bolted a bronze plaque to the inn's entrance, registered cultural property.
Young master, a call from Tatsuya. He's seen a photo online. He's furious.
Tatsuya burst through the entrance before anyone could respond, his phone shaking in his grip.
Heritage status? You sneak. This blocks every sale. What were you planning all along?
The inn is not for sale. It never was. I simply needed you to believe for a while.
From the dining hall, scattered applause began, then swelled. Mr. Sato rose, clapping with tearful eyes.
This inn stays in this family. Now, Tatsuya, we need to talk privately.
He played me. All that talk of a partial sale, just a leash while he locked the doors.
Midnight. Fists pounded the inn's door. Tatsuya, reeking of drink, yelled for Itsuki. Itsuki slid the door open. Tatsuya swayed on the step, eyes bloodshot and desperate.
They'll break my bones if I don't bring cash tomorrow. Please, Itsuki, you have to do something.
Without a word, Itsuki turned and led him through the dark corridors to the study.
You can't sell this place, Tatsuya, because it was never yours to inherit.
What do you mean? It was never mine. Father's will gives us equal shares.
Enough. You're drunk. I'll answer you tomorrow. Go to the guest room and sleep.
Father, you wouldn't have cut me out. Not completely. Not like this.
Itsuki led him through the silent hallway and slid open a door. A simple guest room waited. Tatsuya sank onto the futon, his mind a storm of dread and confusion as the door clicked shut. As the inn slept, Itsuki walked alone to the garden, where memories stirred like the morning breeze. 20 years earlier, in this same spot, cherry blossoms fell as his father knelt beside a young Itsuki.
This inn is our family's heart, Itsuki. Your brother may never understand that.
I understand, Father. I'll protect it.
In the distance, a door slammed. Teenage Tatsuya, already chasing the city's lights, had no patience for the old ways.
Promise me you'll keep this place alive, even when I'm gone, even if your brother comes with fire.
I promise, Father.
Now, with the inn saved, Itsuki stood before the altar, the promise still echoing in his chest.
I kept it, Dad. I kept the inn. This promise, it's the reason I could never let Tatsuya's wildfire consume everything Father built.
Morning light fell on the break room where the inn staff gathered in a circle.
The young master saved our home, just as his father would have. We owe him our loyalty.
In the kitchen, Tatsuya shuffled in, head throbbing, seeking water to wash the shame away. Then he heard it. Voices, muffled but clear, drifting through the vent. He crept to the door and peered through a crack. The staff were weeping, nodding.
And when the other son tried to burn it all down, Itsuki didn't flinch. He stood like the old master.
They're all against me. But she's telling the truth. I'm the one who burned things.
He pulled back and stumbled down the hallway, his shoulders hunched as if carrying stone. Alone in the kitchen again, he stood before the metal counter, his own reflection warped in a cooking pot.
What have I become? A man who breaks what his father built for a few yen at a rigged table.
Itsuki's phone vibrated on the desk. The fraud detective's number. He answered without hesitation.
The side agreement is clear fraud. Give me one more day, then proceed with charges.
He set the phone down, tore a page from the inn's pad, and wrote a single note. Tatsuya, study, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We will settle everything. A staff member delivered the note to the porch where Tatsuya sat, head still throbbing from drink.
Settle everything. That sounds like a verdict from a man who has already decided.
His fingers trembled violently, the cigarette tumbling from his lips into the dust.
Tomorrow, I walk into that room, and maybe I don't walk out.
Inside the study, Itsuki arranged the 3 documents in a precise row: the will, the fund statement, the employment contract.
One more sunrise. Then everything changes for both of us.
Tatsuya retreated to his rented room, the key scraping in the rusted lock. Empty beer cans littered the floor. He slumped into a chair, the room's squalor pressing in, stained walls, a stack of final notices on the table.
Father's face when I left, he knew I'd fail. Maybe that's when he wrote me out. 80 million. The inn was the only card I had. Now Itsuki's taken even that. I could run, grab a train, disappear. But the sharks would find me, and I'd still be this.
He crushed the empty can in his fist, the metal groaning, and let it clatter to the floor.
That night, Father caught me counting gambling slips. He said I'd burn our name. He was right. No way out. Tomorrow he'll gloat while he hands me to the cops.
His eyelids grew heavy. The bottle slipped. In the last waking moment, his father's voice echoed from years ago.
Tatsuya, the path you walk is yours, but you never walk it alone.
Dawn's first light seeped into the study, illuminating the 3 documents aligned on the desk: the will, the fund statement, the contract, like a verdict awaiting its executioner. Itsuki moved to the small altar, striking a match and touching flame to a fresh stick of incense. Smoke curled toward the ceiling as he bowed, palms pressed, his lips barely moving.
I hope you'll forgive what I have to do, Father. But I think you knew.
He straightened, meeting the painted eyes. The silence gave no answer. Then, from the corridor, the soft creak of old wood, footsteps, uneven, coming closer. Itsuki turned slowly, his hand resting on the desk's edge, his gaze fixed on the shoji. The footsteps stopped. A shadow loomed on the paper panels, distorted in the growing light. The door slid open with a low rumble, a crack, then wider, harsh morning sun flooding in.
Here he is. Now we see if he can still be saved.
You said settle everything. So talk. What's your game?
Sit. You'll want to be sitting for this.
Tatsuya lowered himself into the chair, eyes darting to the 3 documents lined up on the desk. Itsuki slid the top document across the desk, the opened will, its crimson seal broken.
He left it all to you? The inn, the land. I'm not even mentioned?
Itsuki placed a second document beside the will, the fund statement, its fine print circled in red.
But most of my debt is from gambling. This fund won't touch it.
Father excluded those. He left nothing for your vices.
Tatsuya slid from the chair to the floor, his shoulders heaving with dry, ragged sobs. On the desk, the documents lay like a sentencing, while Itsuki watched in silence. Itsuki pulled a 3rd document from the stack, the letterhead of the development company stark under the lamp.
I have your side agreement. 10% kickback. Fraud carries a heavy sentence. I could bury you.
Tatsuya's breath caught. The sobbing stopped as if a blade had severed it.
But Father wouldn't want that. He prepared something else for you.
He slid a simple paper across the desk, an employment contract, the inn's seal at the bottom.
Wash dishes. 0 salary. Full lodging. 1 year probation. Earn your place back. It's the only door.
He gestured toward the corridor. The unspoken words hung, or face the police.
He's offering me a job, a dishwasher. This isn't revenge. It's something I don't understand.
Decide. The police are waiting for my call. But the kitchen sink is waiting too.
Tatsuya stared at the paper, his breath ragged, the weight of years crashing into a single choice.
A dishwasher? You expect me to scrub plates? I'm your brother, not a servant.
Take all the time you need. But if you walk out that door, it's over.
Itsuki slid the shoji shut behind him, leaving Tatsuya alone with the weight of his own shame. He crawled to the desk and lifted the pen. His fingers trembled so badly the nib scratched the paper.
The disappointment in Father's eyes. Even now, I can't escape it.
A sob tore from his throat as he crushed the pen to the paper and scrawled his name. The ink was wet and jagged. Tatsuya's surrender sealed before the quiet altar of his father. He let the pen fall and buried his face in his hands, his shoulders heaving in the silent room. The door whispered open. Itsuki stepped back in, his gaze falling to the signed paper without a word. Itsuki walked into the lobby, Tatsuya trailing a step behind like a shadow awaiting judgment.
Listen to me. The Yukimiya Inn will not be sold. It stays ours, and my brother will work here starting tomorrow.
Gasps rippled through the room, whispered disbelief mixed with sharp, skeptical stares at Tatsuya.
He signed a contract. 0 pay, 1 year probation, dishwashing, I vouch for his chance, nothing more.
Tatsuya stood frozen at his brother's side, his face flushed, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The head maid Yoshi stepped out of the crowd, her voice breaking the silence.
Welcome back, young master. The path may be messy, but you're home now.
A smattering of applause rose from the guests, cautious but genuine. Mr. Sato clapped with misty eyes.
The seed is planted. Now we see if anything grows from this broken ground.
Tomorrow, I stand at a sink, not as the heir, but as the one who almost lost it all.
At dawn, Tatsuya stepped into the kitchen, the air thick with steam and the clatter of pans. The head chef thrust a folded apron at him, then jabbed a thumb toward the dishwashing station.
So this is what Zero looks like. Scrub until I disappear.
His slick fingers lost a plate. It shattered on the tile, spraying ceramic across the floor. The chef's voice cracked like a whip. From the prep tables, cooks snickered. He bit down hard, his pride in tatters, and plunged his hands back into the scalding water. A busboy dropped a tower of crusted pots beside him. Tatsuya nodded without looking up. From the doorway, Itsuki watched, face unreadable, arms folded across his chest. Then he turned away, leaving Tatsuya to the steam and grime. The first shift was nearly over. For 3 days he scrubbed, his hands raw and blistered, but the rhythm of the sink became a quiet penance. On the 4th evening, a guest's voice ripped through the dining hall, barking about a cold meal and demanding the manager. Tatsuya froze for a breath, then stepped forward before any staff could, tray balanced on his arm.
I am truly sorry. The kitchen will prepare a fresh one at once.
The guest, bewildered by the humility, sank back into his seat and muttered that it was fine. In the kitchen doorway, the head chef unfolded his arms and raised an eyebrow, saying nothing.
Don't read into it. One apology doesn't clean a lifetime of filth.
He plunged his hands back into the suds, and the kitchen returned to its rhythm of clatters and steam. No praise came. The chef said nothing, but that raised eyebrow had been a crack in the wall. Tatsuya didn't notice. He was too busy counting the plates. Late one afternoon, Tatsuya was sent to clear out a dusty storage closet stacked with old kitchen crates. As he lifted one, a yellowed card slipped from a crack and spun to the floor. For Tatsuya, when you're ready to learn. Below it was a simple recipe in their father's handwriting.
His winter stew, the one he made every Sunday when we were boys. He saved this for me.
He pulled out his phone and found the old photo, father in the inn's kitchen, ladle in hand, grinning.
Even after I burned everything, he planted seeds. He believed I might come back.
He folded the card with infinite care and tucked it into his chest pocket, against his heart. From the far end of the corridor, Itsuki paused mid-stride, recognizing the object, then continued walking. Back at the sink, something had shifted. Tatsuya scrubbed with a steadier rhythm, his eyes no longer empty. A health inspector strode into the kitchen that morning, clipboard in hand, sending the staff into a silent panic. The head chef fumbled through the clipboard by the stove, sweat beading on his brow.
Chef, the water temperature log, it's behind the boiler.
The chef snatched the log, scribbled a missing entry, and handed it to the inspector without a word. The inspector checked the entry, gave a curt nod, and turned to leave. The kitchen exhaled. Yoshi, who had rushed in from the hallway, let out a quiet smile and pressed a hand to her chest. The chef walked over, his heavy hand landing on Tatsuya's shoulder with a gruff murmur. Good call. That was good. Then he turned back to the grilling station. The kitchen staff exchanged glances, less hostile, more curious, before returning to their tasks.
Don't get comfortable. You're still nothing here.
2 line cooks huddled by the stockpot, their whispers carrying over the simmering broth.
The gambling fool. They're not wrong. Every word they say, I've said to myself 1,000 times.
He set down the plate, rounded the corner, and stood before them.
I know what I did. I was wrong. I'm trying to change, but I know words are cheap.
The cooks exchanged glances. The taller one's smirk crumbled, replaced by a stunned silence. A younger cook shuffled his weight and muttered, "Sorry, didn't expect that." Tatsuya nodded once and turned back toward the sink, leaving them in a thick silence.
That wasn't forgiveness, but they saw me, not the villain, just a man who fell.
His spine was straight, and for the first time in years, his shadow didn't shrink behind him. A month's worth of ledgers lay open, black ink edging into profit. The inn was breathing again. He pulled out the fund statement. Balance, 0. Every honest yen of Tatsuya's debt had been washed clean.
He's kept his word for a month. Time to see if his hands can hold more than a scrub brush.
He drew out a blank wooden nameplate and, with a thin brush, painted characters in black ink. Ascent Manager, Tatsuya. Then he slid the nameplate into his yukata and called for his brother. Tatsuya entered, still in his apron, hands pruned from the sink. He stopped, wary.
You've earned back the right to be called a brother. Starting today, you're assistant manager, but the sink is still yours.
He trusts me with more? After I tried to burn it all?
His hand trembled as he took the nameplate, his throat too tight for words. Then he nodded, a deep, slow bob of the head, and Itsuki saw something new in his eyes. Resolve. A week later, the inn's wooden entrance slid open, and Mr. Saito stepped inside, leaning on his walking stick.
Tatsuya-kun, you're at the front desk? I almost didn't recognize you standing there.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sato. Welcome back. Can I get you some tea?
Soon they sat across a low table, steam rising from 2 ceramic cups.
Your father would be so proud. I never thought I'd see this day. He believed in you, Tatsuya.
Tatsuya's composure cracked. He blinked rapidly, a tear escaping before he could catch it.
Thank you. I'm trying. I threw away so much, but I'm trying to earn it back.
Across the lobby, Isuki paused mid-step, observing the scene. A rare, slight smile touched his lips. For the first time since the funeral, the innkeeper's expression held not just calm, but quiet hope. That evening, Itsuki returned to the silent study, a single incense stick cradled in his palm. He lit the incense, its thin smoke spiraling upward, and knelt before the framed photograph.
I never told him the full truth. That I knew. That I waited. Tomorrow, I will.
He pulled a fresh sheet of rice paper and dipped the brush into ink.
You were right about everything. I just wish you could see us now. But I think you always knew.
He folded the letter carefully and placed it beside the photograph, like a whispered promise. Just then, a beam of sunset pierced through the window, illuminating the father's calm face.
He's still here, guiding us.
He pressed his palms together and bowed, then rose with a new steadiness in his spine. The stage was set. Tomorrow, Tatsuya would learn the final secret, and Itsuki would finally unburden his heart. Morning came softly. Itsuki opened an old wooden box, its hinges sighing, and placed a stack of yellowed letters on the desk. Tatsuya entered, his assistant manager uniform still crisp from the morning rush. He saw the letters and froze.
Father wrote to me for years. He knew you'd come back demanding a sale. He prepared everything.
Tatsuya's hands trembled as he unfolded the paper. The ink was faint, but the words were unmistakably their father's. If your brother ever returns demanding a sale, know that I prepared for this. Guide him, but let him choose.
He predicted I'd come back. As a threat? He saw me that clearly?
I knew from the very start you'd try to sell. I waited. Every move you made, I was ready.
The letter slipped from Tatsuya's grip, fluttering to the floor like a fallen leaf. His legs buckled. All along, he had been a player in a game scripted by the father he had betrayed, and Itsuki, the quiet brother, had held the pages. Itsuki drew out a thick folder from the box, crammed with bank statements and loan records, all marked in their father's hand.
Father compiled every debt. He tracked your gambling for years, long before you ever set foot back here.
A memory flickered. The father quietly meeting a private investigator years ago, his face somber but resolute.
He loved you enough to prepare for this day, and I loved you enough to let you fall, so you could truly come back.
Love? This was love?
His fingers clawed the floor, each keystroke of debt a hammer in his chest. Itsuki placed a firm hand on his shoulder, the first physical touch between them in years.
You are not the villain of this story, Nissan. You were lost, but now you are found.
Tatsuya's sobs filled the room, a raw, ragged sound that carried more release than 1,000 apologies. Outside, the sun climbed higher. Inside, the cage of years had finally unlocked. From the box, Itsuki lifted the final document, the investment fund statement, its balance grown over years of patience.
Father built this fund for your honest debts, but you had to choose the path yourself. That's why I offered only the sink.
He gave me a chance, even after everything I tried to destroy.
In the stillness, a memory surfaced their father, years ago, smiling as he held young Itsuki's hand in this very room. Itsuki knelt, and for the first time in years, wrapped his arms around his brother, holding him tight. The debt, the fraud, the will, all of it had been a gate, not a gatekeeper. Love wearing a stern face.
I'll never forgive myself, but I'll spend my life earning back this place.
You're already home, Nissan.
Outside the shoji, cherry blossoms drifted past the garden, the inn breathing deeply after the storm. Itsuki pulled back just enough to see his brother's face, both of their eyes red and swollen.
I'm not angry, Nissan. I was never angry. I was just sad it had to be this way.
I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything. You're home. That's all that matters now.
Tatsuya nodded, unable to speak, but the gratitude in his eyes said everything.
Let's go. The guests are waiting, and I think it's time they saw us together.
They walked out of the study, shoulders close, footsteps quiet, but no longer heavy.
I walked in here as a threat. I leave as a brother.
As they reached the lobby, the garden opened before them, sakura petals dancing in the afternoon breeze.
Welcome home, Nissan. For real this time.
Inside the lobby, staff and guests had gathered, instinct telling them something sacred had been mended.
Everyone, my brother will help lead this inn forward. He has earned his place, and my trust.
Silence hung for a heartbeat, then applause erupted. Genuine, not forced. Tatsuya, still in his apron, bowed so low his forehead nearly touched the tatami. Beside him, Itsuki bowed as well, their backs forming a silent promise to the inn. Nearby, on the altar, their father's portrait caught the lantern light, his smile as knowing as ever. The lobby filled with a warmth that had been absent for months, the old beams seeming to exhale.
Father, we did it. Your inn is safe, and so is your son.
For the first time since the funeral, the silence was not heavy. It was simply home. Months later, the lobby hummed with arrivals, and Tatsuya stood behind the counter, his smile no longer forced. He lifted a heavy suitcase for an elderly guest, his movements easy, earning a grateful pat on the arm. Around him, guests laughed over tea, children's sandals pattered on wood, and lanterns glowed with steady warmth. During a quiet lull, Tatsuya walked back to the kitchen and plunged his hands into the sink of his own accord. From the garden, Itsuki watched the inn breathe, a calm contentment settling in his chest.
You did it, Father. We both did.
Inside, Tatsuya caught his brother's eye through the window and offered a small, knowing nod before returning to the dishes. His face, once lined with arrogance, now held only the quiet confidence of a man who had rebuilt himself. The inn thrived, laughter spilling into the halls, the spirits of the past resting easy at last. And in the garden, the cherry blossoms drifted on, not as mourners, but as quiet witnesses to a promise kept. That evening, when the last guest retired, Tatsuya knelt alone before the altar, 2 cups of tea beside him.
Dad, I'll take care of this place. And Itsuki. I promise.
In the doorway, Itsuki paused mid-step, his shadow stretched long by the lantern behind him. He didn't enter. He simply listened, the words sinking into the quiet wood. Tatsuya straightened and turned. Their eyes met, no words needed. Itsuki gave a single nod, then turned toward the entrance. Together they walked to the inn's entrance and stepped outside. The night was cool, the lanterns glowing like a path of stars. The Yukimiya Inn stood as it always had, but now the two brothers walked the same path at last. Above them, cherry blossoms drifted in the moonlight, and the door of the inn remained open, welcoming the years to come.